from delegates and some faculty members. So just coming off of these great presentations, I think there were some common threads throughout the presentations. One of them that came up was, the success of, I think you all touched on different ways that you define luxury. It would be great if you guys could share an example of, a brand or an experience that provided that for you personally.
I feel like I'm going first. Go for it. Yeah. That's no. I'm really fortunate to be able to travel a lot and to have traveled a lot since I was 17. So to me, when I actually think of luxury experiences, I always think of this one hotel where I stayed. And it's actually quite funny. I was in Serbia in Belgrade, where I stayed, and it's the Hotel Moskova. And so the interesting thing is, off the top of your head, you wouldn't really think that this experience would happen in Belgrade. But I never will forget when, from the moment I walked in, it was interesting because first of all, when they saw me, they were like, "You're from New York." And I was like, "How do you know?" And they were like, "You're in all black." And it was just funny that they do that, and I don't normally wear all black. I'm usually, but whatever. And so they do that.
Likely story.
And so the thing about that experience was that they found a way to connect with me right off the bat, right? So I speak other languages, but obviously I don't speak the language of Serbia. And there I was, I should know the name of that, but but they connected with me, and I think it was that moment that I realized how much connectivity mattered globally, and then just when you're engaging with somebody from that moment, like I became at ease that I was in Eastern Europe, and they were so excited where I was from. So for me, it was that personalization.
It's funny because we talked about streetwear, right? We talked about the concept of streetwear. I know that was like that's kind of like a running theme, right? Which is like, is luxury streetwear or is streetwear luxury? And I think it is. I think that the concept again goes back to that sense of community and like whether or not you're able to curate kind of like a real story, because like at the end of the day, business is actually essentially about storytelling, right? And then again, the life in a second. And a brand that I saw like conceptualized through where it is today is Public School. And Public School again kind of bridges that gap of like what like high-end luxury runway is, and then also what actual streetwear is. And Max and Dow have done like a really kind of brilliant job at like creating a real community of people within New York that actually like live the lifestyle to which the brand embodies. So it's something that I've taken like real cues from, as to like being able to authentically engage like with a consumer and actually like answer questions and then like posture dialogue.
We launched them.
Yeah, you guys did. They have, they've been amazing at building all of them because they actually live the lifestyle. They actually engage in like, who their consumer is. So.
So I think it's interesting that Christopher talked about hospitality. Because hospitality is such it's intangible, right? It's very much an experience. It's not the product, right? Yes, staying in the hotel and having great towels and sheets is wonderful, but it's the connection that you get with those people. I once spoke with Danny Myers, who you probably know. Danny Myers was on a panel with lots of retailers, and he was saying, I don't really know why I'm here because I'm not in retail, but I will tell you how we create a customer experience. It's so that customers want to have a good experience. They want you, many people love your brands or love your restaurants, and they come wanting to have an experience. And in today's generation, they're going to Facebook it, they're going to on social media it, but they really want to have something that they can go away from the experience and take home, write about it, something. And Danny was saying, when one of the salespeople or the wait staff in a restaurant and in hospitality have been tasked with taking care and communicating and listening to the customer, which is different than what we experience in most of retail today. And most of retail, including luxury, I don't want to, I'm not sure exactly Barney's. I shop at Barney's, and I've had I've had great experiences at Barney's. But in general, it's very easy to not find the sales. We're so used to, I want it now, I can't find the sales clerk. But when you're eating out, you want that great experience. And if you don't like the steak, if you don't like the wine, the wait staff is empowered to say, you know what, let me bring you something else, the dessert's on me, which makes it you end up being that much more engaged. You've had that much better an experience when an experience isn't so good, and then the brand turns it around and makes it better. It's like people are acting organically and doing what they can to improve an experience. So I sometimes wonder, when I'm in Nordstrom's, if they can't find what I want, or we're going to order it for you, why they don't just give me a gift card to go up to their cafe and have a cup of coffee and a piece of pie on that, right? It's just a way of, you know what, it doesn't cost a lot. A lot of people wouldn't even use it, but it's the thought that they're in a relationship with you. So, I don't have one specific example because so many examples are good, and it's partly that I go to it and I really want a good relationship. I give the brand and the environment a big chance. I love shopping. There you have it.
Don't we all? Correct, thanks, Marie. Noah.
I'm not sure what to say, and I'm sorry that I'm gonna still have something that I
Okay, well, another question that I have, and it ties back to customer experience again. One of the great ways that brands connect, or in some cases it's the first touch point to a customer, is through social media. In your line of work, have you ever, or do you find yourself tailoring experiences to appear a certain way to hold the customer through social media? How has that impacted your work or the way you approach it?
I feel like we could, do that thing where we rotate.
Okay, do you want to kick off and start?
Sure. To talk about my experience again, I think for me as a social media user, it's both ways, managing my own account, but also obviously following others and seeing what other people do. And there are many great accounts that do great work. First that comes to my mind and probably to you too is companies like Dossier and Everlane, or companies that really do a great job with their customers. But I'm not doing this job, and I feel like it's also part of my definition of very personal luxury, of being able to disconnect and not spending all my time at my phone. And I feel like recently I've been using more and more. I just don't want to spend time using my phone. I'm not sure if I answered that question.
I think you did, and yeah.
Yeah, I would say, when it comes to, really brand experience and using social media, I think, there was the Mad Dash at the beginning where everyone wanted to put social media content out there to drive sales to to drive sales to the website and whatnot, and to kind of get this deep dive of selling product. And that really was the case as up until about 3 years ago. Where now it's really not used in that way. It's really used right now to show a brand's commitment to what they care about, to show that they care about what their consumers caring about. It also, we talk about millennials a lot, but we really have to remember that there's more generations right now consuming, right, than there ever have been before. But everyone acts like, and I love millennials, and I think I am one supposedly. I'm like on that right beginning. I'm the oldest of millennials. So, but it's creating a connectivity. So the social media component of a brand right now has to absolutely be, how do we build community, not sell product? Because they know how to get product. What people are trying to get to is, if you're a kid who's, in South Africa, who's never been to New York, you don't know public school, what are we doing with public school? And what are we doing with whoever that makes you feel connected to what's going on the other side of the world? And that's, I think, where we have to really start leveraging it, especially in luxury. I think fast fashion does it fantastically well. I think luxury is still, we have this thing, not we as Barney's, but I do think the sector wants to stay very much like, we kind of want you, but we kind of don't. We won't really go full out, but we kind of have to. So that's where it is.
So, right, it's like luxury is it's going through growing pains as to how much control are they willing to put in the hands of the consumer. But back to what you spoke about with Burger King, the consumer wants a big part in your brand, and how much are you willing to let them have? And part of that is, that's a dialogue, right? And it's organic, and it's on. And if you don't, it seems that we're at a place today that if you don't let the consumer in and be in a relationship with you, the consumer is going to walk away. That doesn't mean that the consumer is going to change what the Cartier Cougar looks like, but the consumer is going to play with your brand and give them some places to play with it. And social media is an easy way to be expressive without actually changing product.
Exactly.
I was so excited that when we started having this conversation again, I referenced it, where I was like, I'm not actually in fashion, I have no idea what to say up here on this panel. But the definition of luxury actually has to be redefined, right? It actually has to be redefined by the advent of social media. And it's funny because we still say the advent of social media, but it was 2007 when the iPhone came out, so it's been 11 years since social media came out from a mobile perspective. And from my space, I design physical spaces that it's funny, fashion's about wearing, actually inhabiting, right, a product. From my end, people enter into my environments, right? People get to interact with them in an immersive perspective, either for 20 minutes or 3 hours, right? And we have made conscious decisions as to how things are photographable and how things are able to be communicated through social media, right? Walls are now moved. What's going to be the Instagrammable moment? That whole ridiculousness, And it's funny. My latest one, the one that has the motto, or the brand ethos, we try to make a conscious decision not to do everyone has a neon sign nowadays that has something that's witty that is able to be said within four words, and we made the conscious decision not to do any of those things. What ends up happening is people we keep getting press about the fact that we're Instagrammable, but it's because visually, visual language, right, is now a part of our communication as a society, right? I think your clothes are actually incredibly Instagrammable, they're forms, right? So how do you design a form? How do you design a form that has a unique silhouette, right? And I don't have silhouettes, but I have physical places that people can Instagram have this weird cube structure that people keep taking pictures of. And then the last People love Instagramming food. Well, it's funny because our whole business has changed based on Instagram. Because food no longer has to taste good, it just has to capture the imagination. It just has to look good, right? It could be cardboard, right? It just has to look good. Sorry for the monitors out there. But I think people also have a fatigue, right? There's this thing that, I'm sorry I keep looking at you, Wendy, I think you guys too. There's a fatigue, I think, that people are going through where they want to return to something authentic, right? But, the biggest thing that we talk about on a daily basis or on a regular basis is the fact that, like, in the age of magazines, RIP, in the age of magazines, brands communicated through broadcasting their message, and it was tough because people couldn't respond, people couldn't interact other than buying and wearing, or buying, purchasing, and consuming. People couldn't actively interact with brands. But now it's a very, very two-way street where brands communicate and customers respond, and they literally respond. So to think that you can just broadcast your message, right, through social media, and larger companies sometimes still do this, but to think that you can just broadcast a message, this is who we are, without actively engaging the dynamic, right, of consumer to brand, I think is a fallacy. I think that we're past that, and I think that's how we're going to change what luxury is.
Do you have any questions from
For the
the
next
audience? Any of the panelists?
Hi, my name is Marcus. Nice to talk. Thank you very much. And we talked a lot about this redefining luxury, also from the perspective of sustainability, as I mentioned, especially in considering the expectations of, let's say, millennials. Kind of, it's one of the things that need to be, I guess, people like to be redefined as well. And in a way, luxury is able to deliver very well by having products you wear from the 50s. You have it. Tailoring, customization, all those kind of redesigning, adaptation. But there's one thing that maybe you have an idea of. There's a conflict between, let's say, luxury and sustainability in terms of sustainability and abundance. So luxury always kind of, it's lavish. There's a lot, in a sense. And from a consumer's perspective, what do you think that, is there a way for luxury to also tackle abundance?
Yes, which I think too, this is, there we go. Carly and Erin earlier spoke to how it's changed where inventory is scarce, right? I think there's a couple of things that are happening in the luxury industry that you may have started to notice as a consumer, which is they are pulling back a lot on how much you buy, or how much a company is buying, and how much they're willing to sit on of stock. They kind of want to get in and get out. But also what you'll start to notice is that there's quite a few companies that are really believing in this idea that there are a lot of their product. There is a lot of their product out there, and so they're creating programs to allow consumers to bring product back in and either trade in, or what they do is they refurbish it, and then people can then rebuy it at a lower rate. So it's moving at a glacial pace, because I think they do understand that we have been super abundant in some areas where, if you think about the way the industry worked, you had the runway collection, and then, which was always just a few pieces, and then what we would do is do a core collection, and we would go, well, we're gonna go all out, and we're gonna go really deep into this core collection, and so then we let it get to sale, and then you try to save your margin, and then you have all that left over, and then you get to the outlet, and it's still in the outlet, and then you go to clearance, and you're like, what am I gonna do with this stuff? So what you're starting to see is you don't see as much of this off-price merchandise, and I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of off-price stores are even closing because not a lot of product is making it there anymore. So you'll start to see it happen more and more, that we're tackling that abundance issue.
And I'll just add a little onto that as well. This is something that's down the line, maybe 5 to 10 years out, but you'll start seeing more around on-demand manufacturing. That's one of the trends that we support at XRC. We have a 3D on-demand manufacturing platform. So they use 3D knitting Japanese machines, and they can knit a sweater on demand. It takes about 45 minutes to knit a sweater. So as concepts like that scale, and you have all of these micro factories around the country, the idea is that a brand can leverage this platform and knit my sweater when I ask for it when I ask for it, instead of relying on forecasting and making 10,000 red sweaters and trying to get rid of it.
Actually, just not for him, but I'm going to now piggyback on your piggyback, which is that right there is truly where luxury is about to go, and it's already starting, not really so much in retail where it's that way, but car companies are understanding this as well. So it's become to a point where once you're at a certain level, they're no longer rolling a bunch of cars off the line to be sold. What they're saying is you come in, you custom create your car, we make that car, that's you. So it goes to quality and then the level of exclusivity, and that's how that's changed a little bit about the luxury industry, right? Because before it was always about exclusivity, but now people are going, I still want there to be this personalization about me, but I want there to be quality to it. So I want what you do, but I want what you do personalized to me. So I think you'll start to see that happening more and more because people are just going to make it per your request.
And I just wanted to say that also, it's not happening just in luxury, but Amazon, for example, they bought down hundreds of Corr printers. Corr is a digital printing company that is based in Israel, and they developed an amazing technology to print super rapid on fabrics in an amazing quality. And so now when you order, I don't know if it's already happening or in the next month, but when you order a t-shirt from Amazon, it's actually printed and sold on demand. And so even like in the very mass market, it's happening, that's amazing.
Even a year ago, Amazon has secured a patent for an on-demand manufacturing. No one got rid of it, but they're picking something up. They can really make things work, so we'll see.
Hi, my name is Bobby. Thank you. First of all, thanks to all the panelists for their insight. We appreciate it. I'm a technologist by trade, so I just want to get more insight on the industry. I have a startup, blockchain, artificial intelligence, and authentication services provider. It's all blockchain backed. My question is, how are, perhaps Marie, you can also help me, and Carly, perhaps, how are brands embracing their digital, especially luxury brands? Are they open, or is it still very much fixated on the store-driven model? How are they embracing blockchain, new emerging technologies? Are they, are they open? What are their attitude towards potential proof of concepts and with emerging startups?
So after years of like keeping their head in the ground, it's really it's really exciting to see. Like in Paris, Paris has a startup, an accelerator called Station F, and Louis Vuitton is really intricately involved in that. So it's very exciting to see that they are working on what's happening in technology. I mean, Paris is a new center of technology with their new president. So it's interesting to see that luxury brands are starting to incorporate it. Luxury brands for hundreds of years have been storytellers. So they should be not necessarily doing digital sales, though it seems everyone except Chanel has now succumbed to doing digital sales online. But, and I think, the numbers are online is about 9% of total luxury sales, with the expectation that it could get up to 25% by 2025. So in the next 8 or 9 years, that could happen. But online and digital, I think they're looking at CRM. How can they use digital to better do CRM in store? And they know that they should be telling stories and using social media, not necessarily transact. Like transacting is Amazon, and it's efficient. That's not community and experience, you know? So that's my point of view.
Brands and retailers, they are opening up to experimenting with technology. I think one of the roadblocks or issues that a lot of companies still have is scaling technology and implementing quickly. So that's something that we see as, you know, we not only source startups, but we're trying to connect them to these retailers, a lot of the legacy retailers. The sales cycle is about 9 months. A startup could die in 9 months. So there's a lot of work that still has to be done. When you look at the internal structure of a lot of these organizations, they can't, you know, like how can they communicate better among, you know, different departments and sort of get innovation through quickly and measure the right KPIs and then figure out how to scale it across the organization. I think that's where a lot of the roadblocks are. They are open to engaging with accelerators and meeting with tech companies, but it's a matter of, you know, not just doing one pilot, but how do you actually scale it and, you know, reap the benefits from the impact that the technologies could have.
And one of the things about technology, it's like everybody wants to cut costs. And the easiest way to cut costs is cutting costs through labor. And that we know is a mistake if we want community and experience in store. And people have this idea that technology, all right, it's a spend once and it's done, kind of like you build a store and it works for 5 years. But technology has to be maintained, and technology changes. So, like this, whatever you spend in year 1 is probably 20% of what you're going to be really spending. So, one of the mistake about technology is that it is going to totally change your business. It's ongoing. You need constant improvement. It's constantly being iterated. So you have to iterate with it. So. One of the blocks at retail is old thinking and it's the culture and changing that, and it's happening. It's like, one of the questions was, well, what would you do differently? It's like, have a 20-year-old in the room, have a 25-year-old in the room, and just actually listen to everything they say and teach them about what your business is. Like, you've been doing business for 20 years, you bring something that's so much different and to the plate, and you're still very young, but the 20-year-old sees things that you don't see, and they will totally change how you do things.
Absolutely. I think, well, that really is when we talk about the success of Gucci right now, and I worked for Gucci for many years, but looking at it now, the reason they are successful is because there's not a decision made any longer without, so the senior team will meet, they will then get a focus group of 20-somethings into a room and go, what do you think about this? And then they will build from there. But I think one of the challenges, while yes, there's the old thinking of a lot of the houses and the brands, the truth is also technology. And I love IT and technology people, I really do. But sometimes you use words that we just, like, what do you mean? Right? And so you have to remember, you're talking to people who've done an artistry for years. And when I say years, it's been passed down through generations of families. And you're going in and you're like, if we do this and blah, 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 and the API feed will do this and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, I don't. And so they become resistant. Right? And so I say, for technology companies to really integrate into luxury, they have to start getting people from luxury to come in and go, this is how you have to speak to this. And that's not happening yet.
And it's really the same for technology in any industry. I worked on Wall Street for lots of years, and when you all of a sudden started to send your research product out digitally, we had to talk to the tech people. They didn't understand what equity analysis was. They didn't understand that I needed this to go out as a PDF through these wires. They just didn't get what I was. They knew tech, and so yes, it has to be a meeting.
Well, I mean, as a if you're a startup founder going to pitch to a retailer, one of the things that you should know is to be very concise and focus on the impact and how to help their customers. Start there. If they're compelled by the impact that you'll have, then you'll get to the IT and talk about integrations later. But no one needs to know the nuts and bolts of, how it works and every looking thing of how you built it. You'll lose people. So it's all communication is so important. Yeah.
So that's all the time we have for this session. It's actually to do a plug for Parsons. We